It's Monday, October 5th, and this is now on HNN.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet.
Breaking news, President Trump is planning to leave Walter Reed Medical Center shortly to continue his recovery at the White House.
The White House press secretary is the latest in a growing list of officials close to the president to test positive for COVID. I'm Skylar Henry outside Walter Reed Medical Center, where despite his diagnosis, the president is still campaigning.
They may be thinking that they can turn the White House into a bit of a hospital for him.
As his supporters rally outside the hospital and across the nation, some officials are criticizing the president for acting recklessly and downplaying the seriousness of the virus.
Because they didn't wear masks, they spread the thing all over the White House.
We have all the latest developments coming up on This Is Now. Good afternoon, and thank you for watching This Is Now. We start with breaking news here at home. A manhunt is underway after a shooting on Oahu. The incident happened around 11 on Alda Lane and Halona Street in Kalihi. EMS says a man was shot in the arm and leg and was taken to the hospital in serious condition. Another man may have also been assaulted. Honolulu police are looking for 2 suspects who fled the scene in a vehicle and will bring you any new developments as they become available.
Jonathan and Ashley here, coming to you from the H&N Digital Center. So much breaking news to get to, but first let's start with those latest numbers from the state regarding coronavirus.
Health officials say one more patient with COVID-19 has died. That patient is on Oahu, bringing Hawaii's official death toll to 157. DOH is also reporting 52 new cases today. 41 are on Oahu, 10 are on the Big Island, and 1 is on Maui. Let's take you live now to Walter Reed Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, where President Trump has spent 3 nights being treated for COVID-19. The president tweeted he will leave the hospital at 12:30 p.m. Hawaii time and will return to the White House to continue his recovery. Skylar Henry has more on this development, along with news that another top White House aide has tested positive for COVID-19.
President Trump says he will be discharged from Walter Reed National Medical Center to continue coronavirus treatment at the White House.
Over the past 24 hours, the president has continued to improve. He's met or exceeded all standard hospital discharge criteria. He'll receive another dose of remdesivir here today, and then we plan to get him home.
President Trump's supporters gathered here for a 4th day. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany is the latest high-profile official to test positive for COVID-19.
Hello.
McEnany wasn't wearing a mask when she spoke to journalists this weekend, and now the White House is urging members of the media to get tested. Despite being sidelined from the campaign trail, President Trump continues to use Twitter, sending at least a dozen tweets from his hospital suite here on Monday, urging his supporters to go out and vote.
I think we should be very cautious, as I've thought all along, and I'm going to continue to listen to the scientists.
2020 Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden hit the campaign trail in Florida after his latest COVID test came back negative. Vice President Mike Pence and his wife Karen also tested negative for the virus. Pence is preparing to debate Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris in Utah on Wednesday. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Bethesda, Maryland.
Today, H&N talked to Lieutenant Governor Josh Green about the president's health and about the return of tourism to the state. Let's play some of that interview right now.
My heart goes out to the people around the president, and I hope that everyone gets better, the president and the first lady. But because they didn't wear masks, they spread the thing all over the White House, and there'll be a lot more positives there. We had masks on, we didn't spread it anywhere.
Okay, speaking of the president, I want to talk to you, because you're a medical doctor, about the drugs and the treatments that have been given to the president, including dexamethasone, which is a steroid. Do most people get that who are diagnosed with COVID?
Yes, the common treatment cocktail is the dexamethasone, which is a steroid, remdesivir, which is the antiviral, and then sometimes vitamins, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C. What the steroid does is it decreases inflammation in the lungs to help breathing. The medicine the president got that was very, very rare, in fact experimental, was from Regeneron, and it was an antibody cocktail just nobody gets that. That's probably a $100,000 dose of medication that usually suggests one of two things. Someone had a severe disease and they were dying and therefore needed something advanced and as a trial, or they were panicked and wanted to do anything possible, which is more likely the case. And so if you get panicked, you'll throw stuff at the wall and you start using extra medications that haven't been proven.
So we're getting conflicting information, but the White House physician said that the president's blood oxygen level was at one point below 94%, but was not below the low 80s. What is considered to be dangerous?
Under 94% requires you go to the hospital and get admitted with oxygen. When you fall below 91%, so you go 91, 90, 89, 88, it's not just a small decrease in your risk, you go off a cliff. Oxygen saturation works that way, so that between 88% and 91%, all of your tissue stops getting perfused, and that includes your brain and your heart and your kidneys. So that's why you can die when you're at 88 or 89%, and that's usually when we end up either putting people on steroids, supplemental oxygen, or even intubating them.
All right, we're going to stay on top of the president's condition, but I want to switch gears here and talk a little bit more about the 10 days that we have until reopening for tourism. One of the big questions I have, and I've gotten from a lot of people, is how is it that our friends who are on the mainland, who are in communities that have really high numbers, are able to fly here? Well, we can't even fly to Maui without quarantining.
It's not fair, and I think that the mayors are working on that with the governor. A pre-test is the right answer. If people want to travel from Oahu to Maui or to Big Island and they don't want to quarantine, doing the pre-test within 72 hours of travel will demonstrate that they are negative very safely, and then they won't need the quarantine. It also is consistent with our other plan, which is the pre-travel test from the mainland, which once again is within 72 hours of your departure, people get a NAT test, nucleic acid amplification test, from a lab that we're working with. I've named all the partners. I'll say them again if you want them. They get that test and they come in here safely. There's a lot of debate about this plan, which we can talk about more, but I will tell you this, it will greatly decrease our risk and begin to safely reopen our economy. We're getting pushback from the counties, people who want us to do a second test, and I totally agree. Doing a second test safely, if you don't mandate quarantine, will work. Basically, we will have a tiny number of people coming in positive. We have to wear masks. If the mayors want to stop the spread of the virus, they should get our mask wearing rate up from 57% on Big Island. It's on 68% on Kauai. If we raise our mask rate, we will not have spread. But that's the safe way to do it. That's a safe way to do inter-island travel. And honestly, if you do mandate people staying in quarantine 4, 5, 6 days after getting to Hawaii, no one will come to Hawaii. If they want to make that their recommendation, that's a more honest discussion. It was not an honest discussion from the council member on Oahu who proposed their resolution.
Okay, so you've been clear that you don't necessarily think they need that second test, while, mayors Kawakami and Victorino have said that they want that with that quarantine before they get the second test. What I want to ask you is the LG of the state. Why do we not know of a plan 10 days out? How can you have open up to travel from trans-Pacific people and not have an inter-island travel plan in place?
That's between the mayors and the governor. I put this plan out long ago. Lots of buy-in. We've had all of the team, a huge coalition of healthcare providers, people that run hotels and airlines and public health officials. The rate right now is 1 out of 500 people in California that were positive. That's the prevalence rate. You add a test to screen them again, and they'll go down to 1 in 2,000, 1 in 3,000. That would be a safe rate. It's way lower than even our rate in the state of Hawaii. Why they are still doing this is because of fear. They are afraid, and it's natural. It's natural to be afraid to have any spread, but the spread will not be from a few thousand tourists that come here who we've tested, rechecked, gotten their temperature. The spread occurs when people don't wear masks. The spread would occur when we were actually delivering services to them at hotels. Basically, it is a fear-based position. If we are not comfortable opening up our economy safely, and we have to delay all the way till May, because we will not have a vaccine fully into all of our country and our state, then it will have incredible consequences. If we're going to do extra testing, the best way to do it would be to test our high-risk people, our first responders, our teachers, our close contacts. I do know that they've spoken to people who I respect a lot, like Dr. Miskovich. If they can add a second test real quickly, that is great. I support that. Remember, I'm the one who actually proposed the tests in the first place to come into Hawaii. But to float in the 11th hour an additional test where people have to quarantine for 4 or 6 days really just means they're telling people don't come. And unfortunately, that's not a really fair way to go about things. I want to do it safely, and if we don't open up, we'll have to find a way to protect people because they're losing their health insurance, they can't afford food, they can't afford their rent.
At least 13 people in President Trump's circle have recently tested positive for COVID-19. They include family members, advisors, government officials, and close contacts. To keep track, CNN compiled the names and photos of everyone who has been infected. Let's take a look. Along with the president and First Lady Melania, you have Trump's aide, Hope Hicks, his press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, and Nicholas Luna, who is the president's assistant. There are also 3 Republican senators, Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, and Ron Johnson. Trump's former advisor, Kellyanne Conway, has the virus, along with 2 White House communications aides and the president's campaign manager. Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the Republican National Committee, tested positive, along with former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. The CNN list also names who has tested negative for COVID-19 so far.
Meanwhile, Dr. Fauci says he trusts the care the president has been receiving.
Personally, I have not been involved in the direct care of the president. But I might comment that my colleagues that I know, including Sean Connolly, are very good physicians, and they're very qualified. So I am really confident that the president of the United States is getting the optimal care that you can get with the team over at Walter Reed.
Today, Fauci also made comments about the coronavirus upticks in certain parts of the country.
If you look at the test positivity rate in certain areas in the Midwest and Northwest, and now we're even starting to see a bit of the uptick in New York, you've got to pay attention to that, and you got to jump all over that, because if you don't do that, then what happens is you're going to see the surges that we've seen in different parts of the country, where parts come down and parts go up. We've got to stop that trend and get everything going down as a country all together, working together.
The pandemic continues to ravage much of the world. Europe is seeing a huge spike in cases right now. Ian Lee has those latest developments.
China has reason to celebrate. The country recently reported no community spread of the coronavirus since August. Now that's being put to the test. Hundreds of millions of people are expected to travel during an 8-day national holiday. I'm not worried, says this man. China's got it under control. But many countries don't. France recorded a record level of daily infections over the weekend. The government ordered Paris to close its famous bars starting tomorrow. Italy, one of the hardest hit countries, is also seeing a resurgence. But some areas are coping using a lesson from the Black Death. These Renaissance-era wine windows serve customers while helping to maintain social distancing. The UK is also struggling to halt the rise of coronavirus cases. Over the weekend, experts here discovered a glitch that missed nearly 16,000 cases. That delayed contact tracing, with the Prime Minister warning things could get worse through Christmas.
It is still very possible that there are bumpy months ahead.
The Prime Minister recently threatened more restrictions, as the country has the worst official death toll in Europe. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Japanese fashion designer Takada Kenzo has died from COVID-19 in France. French media is reporting that Takada got the virus about a month and a half ago and had been hospitalized in the Paris suburbs. He died on October 4th at the age of 81. Among his many accomplishments, Takada designed the uniform of the Japanese national team for the 2004 Athens Olympics. The parent company of Regal Cinemas, which has 8 locations in Hawaii, could be temporarily literally shutting down theater operations this week, and company officials say the closures of U.S. locations are being considered. Elise Preston has more.
James Bond won't be on the big screen this fall. Producers pushed the release of the latest franchise installment, No Time to Die, from November 2020 to April 2021. The move is forcing the second largest theater chain in the U.S. to go dark. Cineworld announced it will temporarily close its 536 U.S. Regal Cinema theaters on Thursday.
We were bleeding much bigger amounts when we are open than when we are closed. We'll be like a grocery shop with no food.
Most movie theaters around the country reopened in August, promising a safe experience for customers. Christopher Nolan's Tenet tested the waters with disappointing domestic box office results, and the new live-action Mulan stayed on the small screen. With nothing new to offer, Disney re-released 1993's Hocus Pocus, and this weekend it was #2 at the box office.
But none of those movies are playing here in New York, where the governor has refused to allow movie theaters to reopen. Industry watchers say if the city doesn't loosen restrictions soon, other major titles slated for this year, like Wonder Woman 1984 and Pixar's Soul, could get pushed back to next year.
A lot of journalists live in New York, a lot of film critics live in New York, a lot of culture influencers live in New York. And without New York open, the major studios are reluctant to give us their big movies. And without big movies, we can't get people back to the cinemas.
Last Wednesday, industry executives and actors sent a letter asking Congress for COVID-19 relief specifically for our country's beloved movie theaters. They said without it, theaters may not survive. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Local hospitals are preparing for the next COVID spike. Howard Dykes reports.
Queens Hospital today opens a new unit of 24 beds and 24 rooms for advanced COVID cases. The double doors, the negative air pressure, UV disinfection will all isolate patients and protect caregivers too, to a greater extent than has been the case until now. Queens calls it a giant proactive step, and as somebody who often has the job of removing spin from news releases, I have to say in this case it's a fair description of a major step towards safeguarding our local health. Congress dropped the ball on renewing airline aid, but actual layoffs are creating new pressure on lawmakers to act even if it's late. Layoffs are hitting red states especially. Southwest and American are both based in Texas. United has its former Continental hub in Houston. American has a hub in Phoenix. And as a result, these are states where a lot of people are facing layoffs.
Thank you, Howard. I want to take you now to a live video feed coming into the H&N Digital Center. This is outside Walter Reed Hospital. You can see Marine One has landed on the lawn there outside the hospital. Those propellers were going a second ago, but they have stopped now, waiting for the president to get on board to head back to the White House. He has been active on Twitter in the last few minutes. About 20 minutes ago, he did send out a retweet, so we know he is online there. Also, CNN now reporting that the White House is setting up an office near the medical unit in the White House for the president to work on. We're going to have a lot more on this coming up in just a few minutes, but let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy for a check of your weather.
Aloha on this Monday, mostly dry conditions continuing across state. There's a little bit of upstream moisture, but not much. The next best chance for rain looks like when the remnants from Tropical Storm Marie get caught up in the trade wind flow. But if that happens, and that's not a guarantee, but if it happens, it's not going to happen until after Sunday of next week. So we've got a few minor splashes this morning, mostly dry conditions for those leeward areas, and we'll see even drier conditions as the day progresses. Now, the winds are a little breezy in Maui County. For the rest of us, the winds will run at moderate speeds, 10 to 15 miles an hour. And what we see today will likely continue for the next several days. However, there's a chance that we could see slightly stronger winds between Wednesday and Thursday. Even those winds won't be all that strong. So today's going to be a gorgeous day. High temperature running to about 88 degrees. And sunset a little earlier at 6:14. Now there's some surf on the way, but not just yet. North Shore is dropping today, expecting to get a boost maybe by midweek. And South Shore is maybe shoulder high, but pretty small today. And then by the afternoon into tomorrow, we could see a nice little boost rolling into the South Shores below advisory levels. So again, a nice long stretch of trade wind weather, and there's a chance for slightly stronger trade winds between Wednesday and Thursday. Keep it here on 08 News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Thank you very much, Guy. Let's get a quick check of what the internet is talking about. Here's what I found. Venmo today launched its very own credit card. For those of you who do not know what Venmo is, well, it's a mobile phone app that allows account holders to transfer and receive money from others easily.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too, but that just means I'm going to be sending you money on credit, and I'm a little worried about that, Ashley. They said it also has cashback offers that entice users with a bunch of popular categories. For those cashback offers, it also, this is really cool, it includes a QR code, so no more magnetic strip or chip. You can just QR code it right to your friend or retailer with that
cool.
on, but again, on credit, so be careful.
So Coca-Cola, you guys, is scrapping its coconut water brand Zico. The company says it will discontinue production of Zico in the coming months to trim down its beverage lineup. This comes after Coke announced in July that it would discontinue juice and smoothie brand Odwalla. The company will likely discontinue more underperforming brands in the future, with multiple brands currently under review.
Okay.
Yeah, and remember we told you McDonald's had a customized celebrity meal deal for rapper Travis Scott? Well, there's a new celebrity meal deal for Latin pop star J Balvin.
Oh.
Gotta be honest with you guys, I had to look him up. So apparently, the internet says he is the king of reggaeton.
Yeah.
So J Balvin's meal deal, which is available through November 1st, has a Big Mac, medium fries, and an Oreo McFlurry. I dig that. And if you order it with the McDonald's app, apparently you get the McFlurry for free.
Still waiting on that Celebrity Ashley meal.
Chicken McNuggets.
Nuggets.
And remember Captain Tom? We have an update about him, or should I say Sir Tom, Britain's 100-year-old charity hero. So he's launching a podcast. The World War II veteran became a national hero when he raised $50 million for the country's National Health Service by walking laps in his garden. He was then knighted by Queen Elizabeth for that act. So his podcast is called The Originals, and it'll focus on isolation among seniors.
Love that, a 90-something-year-old podcast.
Yeah.
So cool.
I loved Captain Tom.
We want to get back to our breaking news coverage here. This is outside Walter Reed Hospital. That is Marine One. You're seeing a flag there, a Trump flag. There are a number of supporters out there lining up, waiting for President Trump to leave the hospital and head back to the White House. I want to turn it over now to Mary Maloney, who has the very latest developments.
President Trump says he's feeling really good and tweeted this message: "Don't be afraid of COVID."
I learned a lot about COVID. I learned it by really going to school. This is the real school.
The president spent Monday morning active on social media, tweeting a flurry of messages, many ending with the same word: vote. It's a sign the president is focused on the election as doctors and top aides focus on his health.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the president's safe return home.
Since testing positive last week, doctors say the president had a fever and his oxygen levels dropped twice.
He received dexamethasone, which is reserved only for people with severe COVID. So that alone raises concerns about his condition.
Even as the president is eager to leave the hospital, more members of his inner circle continue to test positive for the virus, including White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who tweeted, "After testing negative consistently, including every day since Thursday, I tested positive for COVID-19 on Monday morning while experiencing no symptoms." The First Lady, also recovering from coronavirus, tweeted, "I'm feeling good and will continue to rest at home." This as the COVID pandemic shows no signs of slowing. I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
All right, taking you back out live outside Walter Reed Hospital, there is Marine One. Those blades still not moving. The president originally tweeted that he would be leaving around 12:30. That's 7 minutes from now, 6:30 on Eastern Time. We're going to bring that to you live. As soon as this is over, we'll stop this live stream on our Facebook feed and start up a new one. And then for those of you watching television, just hang tight, because I'm sure those networks will be providing some special reports very soon. So if you miss all that, don't forget Ashley and Mark have the latest coming up at 4 on First at 4 right here on KHNL. You guys have a lot of news to cover today, so stay with HNN. Have a good one.